This here is one of the most interesting cars to be launched in 2023 in Malaysia, the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro. This is a large SUV that will take on the new Proton X90 as well as other similarly priced SUVs like the Honda CR-V. If you're in the market to buy an SUV that's any bigger than a HR-V, trust me, you'd want to pay close attention to this one right here. It has an amazing blend of looks, quality, performance, and most of all, sheer value. Ready? Let's go. As you know, Chery is making a big comeback to the Malaysian market with this car right here alongside the Omoda 5 we've already shown you before. But while the Omoda 5 is going to take on the smaller, more affordable Proton X50, this is going to rival the flagship X90 instead. Chery has partnered up with Innocomm for the CKD local assembly program for this car, and this is going to be the very first time this car is assembled in right-hand drive form anywhere outside of China. That plant, in fact, is going to be Chery's right-hand drive production hub, with exports already planned for Thailand as well as Australia. And even more than that, Chery will set up a separate right-hand drive R&D center right here in Malaysia. Onto the car itself, we are getting the absolute latest version of it here in Malaysia. Technically, this is called the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max in China, where it has just gone on sale this year in 2023. For the Malaysian market, however, it's just called the Tiggo 8 Pro, perhaps to make it sound a bit less like a smartphone, I guess. But the point is, we are getting the absolute latest and greatest version of this car here in Malaysia instead of, leftover older versions, while other markets get to enjoy facelifts and so on. That to me is very important. Unlike the Omoda 5, the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro isn't a brand new model. It has been around for quite a few years. It's already gone through a few update cycles already. But like I said, we are getting the most recent version over here, which makes it newer and better than the ones available in quite a few other markets, including the Philippines, South Africa, and so on. It's a good change for us for once. For 2023, this car gets a diamond-studded front grille, which Chery calls a galaxy design. In person, it looks extremely striking. Just as eye-catching is the emerald green paint job. It glows and sparkles under direct sunlight, and I think it looks ultra posh. It's something that you'd expect to find on a Bentley rather than a Honda. On top of all that, the center logo actually lights up at night together with the full LED headlights. It does a bit of a light show, absolutely stunning. One thing I do have to mention, however, the outer grille shape does look remarkably similar to a few Audi SUV models, but you know what, overall I think it all works. This is a really handsome looking large SUV as a whole. And when I say large, I really mean it. This is significantly bigger than C-segment SUVs like the Proton X90 and the Honda CR-V. At over 4.7 meters, this is as long as a Toyota Fortuner, and we know how big that car is. It is slightly smaller than a Proton X90, but is well within the same size class. This is what manufacturers call the D-segment SUV. It's so big, in fact, that it's making the wheels, despite being 19 inches, look a little bit small. But having said that, there's just about enough character lines and design touches to avoid making this car look too bulky or ungainly like a few other large SUVs do. The elongated chrome line at the top of the window line especially is a nice touch. Without knowing the price, this really can pass off as a proper premium product, but it does have a few things that betray that. For one, the door pillars still use the usual sticker covers instead of the much nicer gloss finish, and there is only a single keyless touch sensor on the car, only on the driver's door. But then again, that's not really a big problem because this car has a proximity sensor for the key fob, so as soon as you walk towards the car, it unlocks itself, and as soon as you walk away, it locks itself back up. It is a seamless experience. So while the front has a bit of an Audi vibe, the rear reminds me of the newer generation Lexus, especially with the full-width LED taillights and the big Chery script down here. The taillights themselves have an intricate design, and just like the front, it has an elaborate light show going on every time you approach the car, which looks absolutely mesmerizing. Even the top third brake light has a stylized T-bar shape. It's not often that you see car brands put this much attention to the small details such as this. At the bottom, this car has quad tailpipes, which does give it a bit of a sporty vibe, and I've checked, these are actually real pipes. The one thing I don't like is this rather messy cluster of badges down here. It says 390T to signify its amount of torque, and then of course Tiggo 8 Pro at the bottom with the Pro highlighted in red. This to me makes the rear end look a little bit less classy in an otherwise good-looking SUV. Just like the exterior, the Tiggo 8 Pro feels like a proper premium car on the inside as well. Now, this cabin takes a lot of inspiration from Mercedes-Benz. I would start with this wide double cockpit screens, but pretty much all car brands are doing this these days. So I'll bring your attention to the door cards instead. This downward curve with a stitching line together with these layered panels look exactly like on a Mercedes-Benz, and even the speaker grills are made to look like the Burmester grills on a Mercedes. Although here the speakers are actually from Sony. More than that, the window controls, the push start button, the central shortcut section with the scrolling volume knob looks like for like with the Mercedes-Benz. Whether that's good or bad is going to be up to your own taste, but I think it all works rather well. Even in terms of build quality, this car mostly holds up. All the major touch points feel really high quality, all nice and soft touch. There's plenty of leather coverings around the entire cabin, but like I said, not everything works. The so-called wood trim around the cabin, they don't look convincing enough as real wood. Now, these are clearly plastic panels wrapped in wood texture. So yes, this car doesn't really look like a proper premium car if you really look up close. But as a whole, this car already feels far more expensive than pretty much all of its competition inside. Now on to specific details. The digital meters do have 3 different themes, but only one looks good. The center screen does look very simple, but at the very least it is easy to use, and more importantly, it's got Apple CarPlay, which is sorely lacking in the Proton X90. Now unfortunately, this does require a wired connection, which is a bit weird considering the cheaper Omoda 5 has a wireless CarPlay. A standout feature on this car is a built-in dashcam recorder. There is a camera within this sensor cluster over here, and it records directly into a micro USB card on the right side. Even better than that, this will also record all your driving information into the recording itself. So whether you're on the throttle or on the brakes, or whether you are giving signals or not, everything will be embedded within the video file itself. So if you want to use the video as proof whether you're at fault or in the clear, this is the best way to do it. As for the aircon controls, they are touch operated, but at least there are dedicated buttons to adjust the temperature and fan down here. It's still touch based, so it's not quite ideal, but this is better than most, and I think it looks good as well. Other than that, this car gets most of the basics just right. The front seats are absolutely fantastic. You've got plenty of side bolster support, thigh support. These are far better than flat seats in the Proton X90, for instance. Both front seats are power operated, and the driver even has a memory function. Even better than that, they've also got an easy access feature, so as soon as you park the car, the seats will move back automatically, so it's easier for you to get in and out of the car. And once you're back in, start the car, it goes back to your ideal driving position. It's all very premium car stuff. Adding to that is the use of proper double glazing front windows. Like I've said, this is something you'd usually find on the highest end of cars. Just the S-Classes, the 7 Series, the Range Rovers, nothing below that. To have that on a car like this is still mind-blowing. Moving on to the middle row seats, as you can see, I get plenty of legroom and headroom left despite this car having a full-length panoramic sunroof up top. And the seats themselves are very comfortable. There's plenty of support in all directions, and of course you can adjust it in a few ways as well. You can slide it back and forth to balance the legroom between the second and third row seats, and you can even adjust the backrest to your own preferences. There's also an adjustable headrest where you can fold the sides forward for you to rest your head on. This feels like a very expensive car. the one thing that it loses out compared to the Proton X90 is the use of a normal center aircon vents instead of roof-mounted ones in the Proton. And on top of that, there are no aircon controls for the second row, so you have to rely on whatever settings the front passenger has put on. Now onto the third row seats. Well, technically this is a 7-seater. The last 2 seats should be reserved for kids only. As you can see, I've got my knees right up to the front seat over here, and my hair is already touching the ceiling over here. I am only 167 centimeters tall, so if you're any taller, you just would not fit in the back here at all. This is clearly designed for kids rather than adults, and the Proton X90 has a rather big advantage when it comes to last row space over here. Even worse is that the only way to access the last row is by folding the right side of the middle row seats forward, because the left side doesn't fold forward at all. Now this is clearly remnants of this car being primarily designed for left-hand drive markets rather than right-hand drive, because obviously when you park in Malaysia, you'll be parking on the left side of the road, so it's much safer to exit or enter the car from the left side. But on this car, you can only do it on the right side, so yeah, it's a bit of a pity there. But on a positive note, the last row passengers do get their own set of aircon controls on the side over here with dedicated vents as well. So yeah, at least they've got that going for them. As for the boot with all seats up, you get less than 200 liters of space in the Chery, which isn't much at all and is far smaller than in the Proton X90. So the Tiggo 8 Pro works much better as a 5-seater with a massive boot rather than a full 7-seater with cramped third row and a tiny boot. Plus, as a 5-seater, you still get a proper tonneau cover in the Chery instead of none at all in the Proton. This is crucial to hide your things from prying eyes. Under the bonnet, the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro is an absolute standout. Here we get a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo engine, much like in a lot of other much more expensive premium SUVs. This makes 250 horsepower and 390 Newton meters of torque, which is a big upgrade over the Proton X90's 1.5-litre 3-cylinder turbo. You get 60 horsepower and 90 Newton meters more in this car. And in fact, this is actually more powerful than Mazda's 2.5-litre turbo in the CX-5 and the CX-8. For the Malaysian market, we are getting a 7-speed wet dual-clutch transmission powering the front wheels, and it can get from 0 to 100 in just 7.3 seconds. That's proper premium SUV stats. Engine, by the way, is covered by an industry-leading 10-year, 1 million kilometer warranty. So if you're still skeptical of this car's reliability, that in itself should quash all your doubts. The Tiggo 8 Pro is class-leading when it comes to safety as well. It gets the full suite of active safety systems, including AEB or Autonomous Emergency Braking, ACC or Adaptive Cruise Control, Active Lane Keep Assist for a full Level 2 semi-autonomous driving, blind spot monitor, 360-degree cameras, and so on. But what makes this better than its competition is in terms of passive safety. This car has no less than 9 airbags. This includes a knee bag for the driver and 2 rear side airbags. That is something that you rarely see in Malaysia on any car at any price point, so this to me is an absolute standout. As for crash safety rating, this has a full 5-star C NCAP from China, but since Chery has plans to export this to Australia as well, they fully expect this to get full marks from A NCAP as well. As for pricing, we'll know the exact figures when the car is officially launched very soon, but for now we've been informed it's going to be around 165,000 ringgit. Now that puts it very close within 10,000 ringgit of the top spec Proton X90, which I think is just incredible. The bigger engine alone would account for the price difference, not counting everything else that you get with this car. To me, this car really does look and feel like a proper premium product, both outside and the inside. So over to you, would you get this car over the Proton X90 or maybe even the Honda CR-V, Toyota Fortuner, or maybe the new Innova Zenix? Let me know in the comment section below whichever way you swing. So that's it for a quick look of the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro coming to Malaysia very soon. What do you think of this car? Let me know in the comment section below. For now, thank you for watching. Stay safe everyone.